Hello. On behalf of the Defense Logistics Agency, welcome to our virtual 2020 DLA Hall of Fame induction program. I'm Kathy Rem from DLA Human Resources. Through the DLA Hall of Fame, we preserve our history and promote DLA values, and today's program is a celebration of excellence. The 9 dedicated public servants we're honoring here help set the standards and values for the agency as we know it today. During the program, we'll hear from inductees and current DLA senior leaders from several locations. So, without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce our DLA Director, Navy Vice Admiral Michelle Skubik.
DLA teammates, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm thrilled to participate in the induction of the class of 2020 into the DLA Hall of Fame. As we all know, COVID-19 made 2020 a pretty challenging year, and we were forced to postpone this ceremony. However, now the show must go on. And for all of our 2020 Hall of Fame inductees, we're going to prove the old adage that good things come to those who wait. Before we get to our honorees, I'd like to thank Mr. Billy Keeler and the J1 team for organizing the Hall of Fame year after year. I also want to thank Mr. Joe Yazwa and the Public Affairs team for all the work and creativity that went into making this video. And to everyone who worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this event possible, thank you. Now let's get to it. I've long felt that you can tell a great deal about the character and culture of an organization by the way it honors its people. No agency does it better than DLA. Every year we search far and wide for the leaders, pathfinders, and visionaries whose contributions have led to the organization we now know as the nation's Combat Logistics Support Agency. We find the trailblazers and innovators who pioneered the practices and systems that, in many cases, we still use to serve our warfighters and our nation. Army Lieutenant General Henry Glisson, DLA's 13th director, began this tradition in 1998 to honor the best of the DLA workforce. This year, our 9 incoming members will bring the total number of inductees to 126 since the inception of the first DLA Hall of Fame. The depth and breadth of the class of 2020 is quite remarkable. Among the recipients are 2 former directors, as well as representatives from 3 major subordinate commands, 3 headquarters directorates or J-codes, and the General Counsel's office. I want to thank you for helping us honor and celebrate the legacy of excellence these exceptional inductees left for all of us. Their stories remind us what selfless service is all about. Their achievements continue to inspire us all. And with that, we bring you the DLA Hall of Fame Class of 2020. This is their time. Let's give them their due.
Our first 2020 inductee is Lieutenant General Donald Babers, who led the agency as its director through a pivotal time in Department of Defense history. By empowering subordinates and introducing the Defense Logistics Agency to the telecommunications age, he solidified the agency's reputation as a major player in DoD. In authoring the agency's first strategic plan, he set DLA on a path towards future success. And his advocacy helped DLA not only survive the Goldwater-Nichols Act, but gain through it. We'll now hear from Ms. Kristen French, who, while serving as DLA Chief of Staff, nominated General Babers for induction into the DLA Hall of Fame.
I'm very excited to be able to talk about Lieutenant General Babers and what he did during his time at DLA. So Lieutenant General Babers was the director of DLA during the 1980s. And if you think back in the 1980s and what was occurring in our country, President Reagan was our president, and he was bringing a lot of buildup in our Department of Defense and in the military. So General Babers had to take what was going on in our military and also build up DLA. I know one of the things that he worked hard on is our whole of government support, and we started having more partners such as NASA and FEMA and other organizations, and that was the first time we were doing things outside of the Department of Defense. And so I know he worked hard to make sure that Department of Defense and our whole of government partners got the support they needed as DLA continues to do today. So he really did build a foundation for us. In fact, DLA grew to 60,000 members during the time that he was in DLA. And he was on board when we started bringing computers into DLA and managing our business via computers and a network instead of through the old school, working it on a typewriter or through telephones and paper. So he established a DLA net, which was able to manage our business across the different subordinate commands. And if you think about how we do that today, our business would not survive without the computer. Lieutenant General Babers did a lot of new initiatives during his time in DLA. And one that I think was great is he set up the Chief of Staff position. And luckily, that decision he made in the 80s has continued today, and I am here today as the DLA Chief of Staff, and I thank him for that. And I think it's, again, an important part of our organization to manage the day-to-day operations. Lieutenant General Retired Babers. As the DLA Chief of Staff, I am honored to represent the agency as you're inducted in the DLA Hall of Fame. Thank you so much for your service, and I wish you the best.
I am deeply humbled and privileged to accept this unique honor bestowed on me by the Defense Logistics Agency. On behalf of my wife and family, my close friends, and of course, all who served with me at the Defense Logistics Agency, thank you. I must say, when the committee contacted us last year, this took me quite by surprise. My assignment at the DLA lasted only 2 years, but they were the culmination of my 35 years military career, and so, of course, that assignment was very special to me. I remember arriving at Cameron Station, which was only a couple of miles away from my last assignment in the Army Materiel Command. It was on Eisenhower Avenue, and was immediately impressed by the leadership team, the structure, the culture, and of course the dedicated rank and file workers of the Defense Logistics Agency. Technically, this was my second DLA assignment, but the first one was way back in the early 60s when I was assigned to the Tank Automotive Command in Detroit. And that was the time TACOM was one of the newly established Defense Supply Agency supply centers. So, after 25 years, I was sure that I understood what was to be expected, but I found the structure and the leadership team quite like the other Army and military organizations to which I was either assigned or commanded, and as I just said, I was very impressed. We were faced with many challenges. The Goldwater-Nichols Act was changing the way the Defense Department acquisition system was structured and organized. As I recall, it would have severely reduced DLA's roles and responsibilities by reassigning them to the services. We successfully countered those proposals and actually expanded the Defense Logistics Agency roles and responsibilities during the Reagan build-up years. We placed an emphasis on quality and got the workforce to focus on initiatives to improve services in incremental levels and empowered them to make decisions, making responsibilities without recrimination. We reached out to services to improve the quality of spare parts data they sent to our cataloging activity at Battle Creek. This was in response to the spare parts horror stories of the overpriced coffee pot and toilet seats, and we increased our level of quality to the services by focusing on initiatives that increase supply availability. I always felt that the DLA workforce was truly made up of dedicated professionals who took pride in their work, and my role was simply to provide direction and establish goals. In fact, one of the things I felt was important was to have DLA come up with a long-term strategic plan. That, as I understood it, had never been done. not before. And that is one of the things that started while I was there and certainly didn't finish, but left as a goal for the agency to work on. I know that the Defense Logistics Agency continually updates their strategic plans to this day. Once again, I'm proud of my years at the Defense Logistics Agency, proud of the workforce and what we accomplished, and how we left the agency a better place to work. Lastly, once again, I must tell you, this honor is especially significant to me, as my wife, Marilyn, can still share it with me 34 years after my retirement, and after almost 7 years of marriage, we're both honored and humbled. Again, thank you.
Lieutenant General Andy Busch completed 3 assignments at DLA spanning nearly 2 decades. As the DLA director, he will best be remembered for reaffirming the agency's commitment to the nuclear enterprise, reorienting DLA to better align support for the combatant commands, championing a culture of continuous process improvement, and an enduring commitment to the resiliency and well-being of DLA's people and culture. Mr. Brad Bunn, DLA's Vice Director, will tell us a little about why he thinks General Busch is deserving of this honor.
I guess I would say that General Busch has had an enormous impact in 3 different decades. So in each of his tenures here, he's made a big impact on the at the lower level, the policy and mission growth that we experienced in the 90s. In the 2007 to 2009 timeframe that he was here, he really faced a huge challenge to implement a pretty significant portion of the base realignment and closure requirements that we got from Congress, where DLA assumed mission from the services, and a lot of that was in the aviation mission area, where we were bringing on people, new mission areas that we hadn't done before in terms of supply, storage, and distribution at the air logistics centers, the fleet readiness centers, and the aviation depots. He had to balance a huge number of priorities and considerations and deal with everything from people to process to the business side and ultimately to the mission to support the warfighter. When he came back as the director in 2014, we were coming out of a period of a lot of turbulence with the employees, the workforce facing furloughs in the 2013-2014 timeframe. So he inherited a lot of challenges, but he was the epitome of what we typically get with DLA directors, which is the right leader at the right time. And when he came in, he brought a calm and composed leadership to the agency. He reset our strategic plan using a very collaborative process across the agency, bringing in the senior leaders from the field activities, from across the headquarters, and frankly from other stakeholder organizations to refresh and overhaul the strategic plan that hadn't really been looked at in several years. But under his leadership, he brought what we call people and culture now, which is something that's familiar to most of us. That was under his leadership that we actually established that term, highlighted it in the strategic plan, balancing what we do for our people along with the organizational culture that we provide them as an integral part to our overall mission and what we do as an organization. He also was the champion and really the sponsor for the establishment of the DLA Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Program that we formalized back in the 2016 timeframe. General Busch, I want to personally congratulate you for your induction into the DLA Hall of Fame. It's our very small way of saying thank you for the impact you've had on this agency. It's thousands of employees that are still with us, as well as those thousands of employees that you had an impact on over your many decades of service. So congratulations.
Hi, I'm Andy Busch, and I'm coming to you from Fruit Heights, Utah. And I want to start off by thanking Admiral Skubik and the entire DLA leadership team for including me in this year's DLA Hall of Fame class. And I really regret that travel restrictions are preventing us from getting together. I remember from my tours in DLA that being able to come to the headquarters complex and visiting with people that had since retired and have left DLA was always really a highlight of the year. And so I regret that we're missing that this year, but I certainly understand the reasons why we're doing that. I was fortunate as a uniform member to have 3 tours in DLA, and I tell people that ask me about the Defense Logistics Agency why that's so important. And the answer is always that DLA made me much more capable and well-rounded as a logistics professional. And quite frankly, until you spend time in DLA, if you are going to tell yourself or tell people that you're a professional logistician, you really need to go to DLA to understand the capabilities of our great nation, and many of those reside in the Defense Logistics Agency. So it's impossible to thank everyone for all the great things that I was able to be part of when I was at DLA, but there are a few names that I wanted to highlight. First, I wanted to say thank you publicly and publicly again to the vice director that I served with when I was fortunate enough to be the director, and that's Ted Case. Ted was a consummate professional, always had the best interests of the agency in mind, and always focused on giving me the unvarnished truth whenever there was a tough problem. And the next person I wanted to talk about was Command Sergeant Major Charles Tobin. Sergeant Major Tobin really reinvigorated the role of the Command Senior Enlisted Leader at DLA. And I think it's a position that's vitally important to the agency. It provides a fresh perspective in the executive team, and I can't say enough for Command Sergeant Major Charles Tobin. And then when I think about DLA, I think about one other name quite often, and that is of Chrissy Davis. So Chrissy was an employee of ours that worked in Anniston, Alabama, and she was serving in Afghanistan, and she lost her life in a mortar attack. And I think about her quite a lot because she really represents the best of what DLA is. Someone that was willing to go into harm's way to do the things that in normal times we consider very routine, yet this was work that was very important and we had to do over in Afghanistan. And so I think of Chrissy quite often when I think about my time in DLA as the director. So let me close by just saying thank you again. Thanks to Admiral Skubik, to the DLA leadership team, to the 20,000+ people that I had the great opportunity to work with 3 times that I was in the Defense Logistics Agency. And I'll tell you that DLA is a great organization, and I was very, very fortunate to have had the opportunities that I had to work with all of you. I wish you the best. You do great work, and we need you to continue to doing great work in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Milton Lewis was an innovative contracting expert who specialized in process improvement throughout his 37-year military and government civilian career. His influence will guide innovations and strategies for acquisition specialists for many years to come. His dedication was unwavering and was matched only by his strong character and his pride in the DLA Land and Maritime Organization. Navy Rear Admiral Kristen Fabry, Commander of DLA Land and Maritime, will discuss some of Mr. Lewis's lasting contributions.
Mr. Milton Lewis is so deserving of being inducted to the DLA Hall of Fame. And there are too numerous many reasons to mention here. But first of all, he was our very first acquisition SES, Senior Executive of Acquisition here at DLA Land and Maritime back in 2008. And so amongst his 42 years of his distinguished career, 29 years active duty in the Army, and then the rest as a civil service in the SES, he did so many things, such as the first Destination Transportation and Packaging Initiative, which really set the bar for commercial standards and leveraged DLA's buying power to make sure that we were at cutting edge in our efforts to make sure that we were efficient, innovative and providing the best support for our customers on a daily basis. He also was very instrumental in creating the Strategic Supplier Alliance, which helped enable us to work with our major contractors and working to provide the best customer service we possibly could to our warfighter by working with the major weapon systems and acquisition systems with the Strategic Supplier Alliance partners. He also was very instrumental with DNA marking, which would help remove counterfeit items out of the supply chain and make sure they never got into the supply chain in the first place through DNA marking. Also, he was very instrumental with additive manufacturing and setting metrics, really setting the bar high for metrics and looking at how we measure things with regards to ALT, which is the administrative lead time for our procurement processes, to really look at how do we reduce and cut that down. And also how do we look at performance and goals for our associates and for our workforce. I believe Mr. Milton Lewis's most lasting impact on the Defense Logistics Agency is all the effort he did with the acquisition workforce. He was truly a people person. He looked at what, performance, education for the acquisition workforce. Working with our people, our greatest asset, was clearly a high priority for him. And it really, again, set the culture here at Land and Maritime for what we do best here in supporting the warfighter. And a story would not be complete without sharing a few of the cryptic analogies that Mr. Lewis was very fond and famous for using. And one of them was so distinct I have to look at my notes briefly just to share it with you. He said things like, "We're chasing things like a blind dog in a meat house." And this is a self-licking ice cream cone. And here we go again on the road to Abilene. So just amazing analogies and things that people would remember him for long after his time here. His legacy is firmly established here at DLA Land and Maritime for all of his amazing accomplishments and the inspiration that he gave us here in Columbus. Mr. Lewis, I would like to personally congratulate you for your induction into the DLA Hall of Fame. And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that when it pertains to you, the juice is definitely worth the squeeze.
Admiral Fabry, thank you for those kind words. First of all, I'd like to thank Admiral Skubik and the entire DLA team on behalf of my family and myself for this honor. In being inducted into the DLA Hall of Fame is really an honor, but it's also it's a humbling experience. And I thank you for this recognition. I also like to thank the DLA Land and Maritime team. It is because of their dedication and their hard work that I'm being inducted today into the Hall of Fame. Jim McClarty, who was my good friend, and he was also the deputy commander of DLA Land and Maritime, and if I'm not mistaken, will probably be a future Hall of Famer himself. Jim was fond of saying that if you ever see a turtle on a post, one thing you can be sure of, he didn't get there by himself. And that's what I can say about myself today, as I am inducted into the DLA Hall of Fame. It took a lot of work and a lot of help from a lot of people. And I'm truly, truly grateful for all of their assistance. What I tried to do in my time, and I saw my role as removing obstacles for folks, and trying not to become an obstacle myself. Some days I was better at that than others, but even when I stumbled, the folks around me would pick up the slack. And I'm very, very thankful for that, and that I had the right folks at the right time. A special thank you to my family. I want to thank my wife, Hia. We've been married for 43 years, and she knows all the rough spots, the highs and the lows. I want to thank my children, my son Jason, daughter-in-law Ashley, my daughter Cynthia, my son-in-law Greg, and my son Jeremy. I couldn't have done anything without your love and support. It's been, you're the light of my life, and I love all of you very dearly. I'd like to congratulate all of the inductees, all my fellow inductees into the class of 2020. I had the pleasure of serving with many of the folks who are being inducted, and I can say that I know their contributions to DLA and to the nation firsthand, and I know that they're all deserving of this great honor. And I'm humbled to be a part of such a distinguished group. The fact that I'm here today being inducted into the DLA Hall of Fame is somewhat surreal to me when I think about all the coincidences and things that had to happen in order to get me to this point. I can remember in 1992, as I was finishing up command as an Ordnance Corps, brand spanking new lieutenant colonel in Germany. I was getting ready to come back to the States as an acquisition corps officer, because I had made that transition and the Army had stood up a new corps, an acquisition corps. And so the Ordnance Corps gave me an assignment to Germany. Acquisition Corps was giving me an assignment after Germany. My assignment officer said, "Yeah, I've got 5 opportunities for you, 5 jobs. You can take any one of those." This was the first time I've ever gotten a choice. The Ordnance Corps never gave me a choice. The only choice I normally had when I got an assignment was Windle, Cedar Isle. That was it. So not where I was going to go. So I had 5 choices. 4 of those locations I knew a little bit about, and then there was this one on the list. It was Columbus, Ohio. And as an ordnance and as an Army officer, the first question I says, we don't have many Army bases here, was, what's in Columbus, Ohio? And they says, well, this is the DLA organization. It's Defense Construction Supply Center. That was the name then of DLA Land and Maritime. And the job we've got for you there is you would be the procurement, chief of procurement division. And so I thought about that, and then they said, well, I really didn't know if that was the job I wanted to take. And then they said, well, you also know this organization by its route and identifier code, which is S9C. And I knew S9C because as a maintenance guy in the Army, I knew all my parts generally came from S9C. So I said, send me to Columbus, Ohio. And that's where I went. And I signed in June of 1993. What I didn't realize in 93 was that I had just had my last assignment in the Army with an Army unit. I would spend 11 more years in the Army in uniform, but my next assignments were in Texas and Germany, and then back to Columbus. But I was in DLA for that entire time. In 2004, I retired from the Army. My last job was as the director of land-based, the land-based weapons systems group here at Columbus, and then it was Defense Supply Center Columbus. I retired, went into private industry for 4 years, and then in 2008, General McQuistion, who was then the commander of Defense Supply Center Columbus, and General Dale, who was then the director of DLA, gave me the offer of a lifetime, a dream job. And they offered me the opportunity to become the acquisition, what is now the acquisition executive for DLA Land and Maritime. I took that opportunity and came aboard for my 3rd time in Columbus as the AE. This job turned out to be everything I thought it would be. There's an author who by the name of Harvey Mackay, And Harvey McKay has this, and he's given credit for this saying that says that find something to do that you love, and if you do, you'll never work a day in your life. I think that's true about me and DLA, because if that's the standard, then I never worked a day in DLA, because I truly love what I did. I truly love being the acquisition executive for DLA Land and Maritime. When I came aboard in Land and Maritime, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan was going hot and heavy. MRAP and MRAP support was the order of the day. It was a challenging mission, but it was a do not fail mission, as we supported soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines at the pointy end of the spear. People's lives depended on that we got it right. And thanks to the dedication and the work of the folks at Land and Maritime, but across DLA, I think we got it right. I have gotten many letters from soldiers who are still here, who are still with us, because of the MRAPs that we supported allowed them to come home. The folks here, the dedication to that mission is extraordinary. I am proud to have been part of that effort. I am proud to have contributed in some small way to making that happen. In retirement, sometimes I sit back and I think about the breadth of the mission of DLA, all the moving parts, and no pun intended, that go along in DLA on a daily basis. And even having been a part of the organization, I am still awestruck at how well this mission, as difficult and as broad and as complex as it is, how this organization gets that done every day, 365. It's been an honor to be a part of this organization. I'm proud to be a soldier, and I am a soldier for life, but I'm also proud to be a DLAer, and I'm a DLAer for life. Thank all of you for what you do day in and day out, taking care of America's finest. I wish you the best. Keep charging, and I know you will. I ask for God's blessings on you and your families. Godspeed. Thank you.
Mr. Paul Mank started his career in the intern program and rose through the ranks to become acting deputy director of DLA Disposition Services. He was known as a resolute advocate for his employees, peers, and leaders, and a highly valued member of the organization. A model of integrity with broad expertise and sound judgment, he assisted senior leaders through his field service, environmental service, information management, and operations service governing federal surplus property management and sales. Mr. Michael Cannon, Director of DLA Disposition Services, will discuss how Mr. Mank was a keystone of that organization's leadership team for 34 years. Mr. Mank is being inducted into the Hall of Fame posthumously. His wife, Mrs. Mary Beth Mank, will speak on his behalf.
Paul Mank is an icon in disposition services. He's a known name. He helped form what we are today. He started working with us when we were, as most people know, DRMS, DRIMS, and DERMO, into what is today DLA Disposition Services. He helped us bring on our current IT systems, EBS and DSS, the systems that we track disposal property, and he really molded our footprint. He helped set up our big hubs at San Antonio and at Norfolk and Warner Robins, 3 locations that are 3 of our major locations today, and how our network is developed is around the hubs that he created. Paul Mank left his impact on the people of disposition services. He was a leader, a mentor, a coach, a cajoler, just a people person. He helped guide me in my first 6 months as the director. He was the acting deputy director. People that we look at in disposition services who are considered, the key leaders, the Sherry Lowe's who left an indelible mark on DLA, the Arthur Welsh's, he's the director, my director of operations, me. We all look back and we point to Paul Mank as the person who developed us. I mentioned, him bringing in our computer systems and leading that whole effort. I mean, that was big, and that's a huge mark. But the most important thing Paul did was he developed today's leaders in disposition services. We're here because of Paul. In his office, when he was working with us, he had a round plaque that looked like a peace sign, but in the middle, instead of a peace sign, is a B-52, a plane I worked on for many, many years in the Air Force. And it says around the outside, peace the old-fashioned way, right? That's our warfighter support. And I commented to him how, that's very cool, I really like that. He was diagnosed with terminal cancer on a Friday, and decided he was going to devote the rest of his life to Mary Beth and his family, and work was done. When I came into work on Monday, that was sitting on my desk with a note from him saying, hey, I want you to have this. It's on my wall, and it always will be. We couldn't do warfighter support the way we're doing it without the things that Paul did for his over 30 years in the organization. And again, personally, developed the leaders that you see when you come to Battle Creek and across our field locations. Our senior leaders, to a person, were impacted by Paul and his leadership and his coaching and his mentoring and his friendship. Mary Beth, Mank family, I just want to thank you for sharing Paul with us, for allowing him to be such a huge part of DLA Disposition Services. He molded our organization, he molded our footprint, and he molded our people to what we are today. He is so deserving of this recognition. I just wish there was more we can do. We'll never forget him. His picture's still on my desk. His plaque is still on my wall. Thank you so much, and God bless you.
I would like to thank the Defense Logistics Agency for bestowing on my husband, Paul Mank, this highest of honor. Paul passed in 2016, so while he's not here in his regular familiar form, it's my belief system that he is here and that he is fully aware of this honor that has been given to him, and he's as thrilled as I am. Paul worked at DLA for 35 years of his career before passing, and he told me that of all his accomplishments in his career, his very long career, the thing he was proudest of was any of the humanitarian efforts that DLA accomplished. So, for example, when Hurricane Katrina devastated that area of our country, Paul's organization was responsible for helping people and shipping them equipment and help and whatever they needed to survive and get back on their feet. And he was most proud of that. I also would like to thank, in particular, two of Paul's colleagues, Pete Foreman and Mike Cannon. Paul considered these exemplary men close friends and colleagues. And when Paul passed, both of them were so incredibly supportive to me. Pete Foreman and his family just put their arms around me and took care of me. And Mike Cannon invited me to the Federal Center in Battle Creek, where Paul worked, this magnificent, beautiful building that houses the DLA operation there. And he invited me to come and share some coffee with him one day. So luckily I knew enough to kind of get dressed up for this occasion. And I went there and met Mike for the first time. Paul has spoken of him with great affection and admiration. And I could see why, because Mr. Cannon welcomed me warmly, and we reminisced about Paul and shared some laughs about fun things that were common to both of us. And then Mr. Cannon said to me, Mary Beth, I would like to show you Paul's award that's on a career service award that is on a wall here, our wall of fame. And so he took me down a hallway and showed me Paul's plaque. And then he said to me, I have a few friends I'd like you to meet. I said, okay. And so we walked a little bit further, and Mr. Cannon opened the door to a room filled with military and civilian people who stood up. And when I caught my breath, Mr. Cannon explained to me that they had a few awards for Paul, and they heaped so many awards on him. And the last award, the final award Mr. Cannon gave me, was an award for taking care of Paul. It was so moving and so heart-rendering that it just made such an imprint on my heart. Paul always said that if you were any good at your job, they would remember you for 2 weeks. So I think the fact that 5 years after his passing, the people at DLA are honoring him and remembering his contribution must mean that he did a spectacular job. So on behalf of Paul and me, certainly from my heart, thank you to all of my friends at DLA. As one of the members in the organization said to me, we consider you family, and I you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Under the leadership of Army Lieutenant General Ray Mason, the annual sales of Defense Supply Center Philadelphia, now DLA Troop Support, increased by over $1.85 billion in FY 2014. He accomplished this feat while reducing the cost recovery rate to an all-time low and decreasing logistics response times by over 50%. He simultaneously led the agency through the Business Systems Modernization Program, one of the largest transformation initiatives within the Department of Defense. DLA Troop Support's current commander, Brigadier General Gavin Lawrence, will tell us a little bit about why he nominated General Mason for this honor.
I think what sets General Mason apart was his visionary leadership when he commanded what was the forerunner to DLA Troop Support, the Defense Supply Center of Philadelphia. So General Mason commanded the Defense Supply Center of Philadelphia from 2003 through 2005. And I had a unique perspective on his visionary leadership because I actually served as his aide-de-camp during that period. At the time, our nation was involved in contingency operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. And under his vision and leadership, DSCP implemented prime vendor programs, the forerunners of what would be our subsistence prime vendor program that brought it much needed subsistence to the operation areas in Iraq and Afghanistan, ensuring that our service members, as they were involved in counterinsurgency operations, had the subsistence that they needed to conduct operations. In addition, General Mason played a key role in the forward positioning of critical material needed for operations in the CENTCOM AO. And during General Mason's tenure, Defense Supply Center of Philadelphia was involved in contingency operations with FEMA supporting Hurricane Katrina and Rita in 2005. And he demonstrated the ability of DLA to leverage the defense industrial base to provide material support, forward position material, so our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines had what they need when they needed to conduct operations in those theaters. And we think about, our line of efforts that we have today, warfighter always, that attitude that we have here at DLA. I think, that was really built upon during his tenure as the DSCP commander. If that's not enough, General Mason, during his tenure as the DSCP commander, championed probably the most historic change management that occurred in DLA, and that's this agency's business systems modernization and customer relation management initiative. Two significant initiatives that changed the way DLA conducts business within the Department of Defense. General Mason, sir, on behalf of the entire Troop Support family and team in Philadelphia, we just want to say congratulations. Congratulations on your well-deserved induction into the DLA Hall of Fame. You've left a legacy that continues to live on today in Philadelphia, and we are ever so proud of you, sir. Sir, salute and congratulations from the entire Troop Support team.
I'm very humbled and deeply honored to be part of this incredibly distinguished Hall of Fame class. I was actually in my 22nd year as an Army logistician when I was given the great privilege of joining the DLA team. Till that time, I truly did not understand nor fully appreciate the powerful combat multiplier that DLA brings to the joint fight. In my follow-on assignments in Iraq and Afghanistan, on the DMZ in Korea, at Army Forces Command, and then finally at the Army G4, I was so very fortunate that I could call upon the pros at DLA and Troop Support to help me solve some of the toughest logistics challenges. I was very blessed during my time at Troop Support with a world-class team. I truly consider them lifelong friends and family. There are no more loyal nor dedicated American civil servants anywhere in the Department of Defense than the Philadelphia Troop Support team. While too many to mention, I'd like to recognize a few of those great patriots from my time at DSCP. First, Colonel Retired Bob Ratner. Bob, other than the beard, dude, you're absolutely ageless. Must be something in that Schuylkill River water that's keeping you so young. And Bill Kenny, who knows more about contracting and acquisition than anybody I've ever served with. And then there are what I like to call the ladies of DSCP, Troop Support: Sue Schaefer, Lisa Magnotta, Diana Stewart, and Lisa Shields. There really are not enough words to thank you all for your wise counsel and friendships. Thanks so much for everything. Finally, I'd like to talk about one other individual. One of my best lessons learned I ever received was from my former brigade commander at the 82nd Airborne Division. Former DLA director and 2015 DLA Hall of Famer, Bob Dale. He taught me that one of the most important missions of a leader is to build the bench. Train and mentor the leaders that will come after you. I was certainly fortunate to be mentored by Lieutenant General Dale, and I was in turn blessed to mentor a great young soldier. He was a company commander for me in the 25th Infantry Division, Tropic Lightning. He was my aide at DSCP, now Troop Support, in 2003. And despite me, he is having an incredibly successful career, serving multiple times in combat. That leader just gave up command of Troop Support. Brigadier General Gavin Lawrence. Gavin, I could not be prouder of you. You and Becky led the Troop Support team during perhaps its most difficult period, the COVID-19 support mission. Gavin, as I learned many years ago, nobody cares how much you know till they know how much you care. And you are certainly the epitome of that leadership trait. So life comes full circle. Again, thank you all for this great honor. However, I would not be part of this Hall of Fame class were it not for my Philadelphia family. Go Eagles! God bless you all, and may God bless and protect our men and women, many from DLA, that are serving in harm's way today, tonight, and every day. Thank you again.
Mrs. Sandra Miller-Thomas served in both the DLA Equal Employment Opportunity Office and in DLA Human Resources as the staff director for the Human Capital Program Development Office. She developed the first DLA handbook on the EEO complaints process, and she led the development and implementation of DLA Strategic Workforce Planning, the DLA Culture Program, the DLA Corporate Recruitment Program, and the DLA Enterprise Leader Development Program, all key enterprise human capital programs that remain significant today. Mr. Billy Keeler, Acting Director of DLA Human Resources, will explain the value of Mrs. Miller-Thomas's lasting contributions to the agency.
Sandy Miller-Thomas is definitely deserving of induction into the DLA Hall of Fame. She had a 30-year career with DLA where she was responsible for some significant contributions. She worked in the DLA Equal Opportunity Office and DLA Human Resources, and while she was there, she developed the handbook on complaint processing. She was responsible for the Defense Acquisition Workforce Improvement Act career program. She was responsible for the Enterprise Leadership Development Program, which is where we develop many leaders. Her two most significant contributions were the reinstatement of the DLA Annual Awards Program, where we recognize the most successful accomplishments of individuals and teams throughout DLA. And it's an annual program that we have that celebrates accomplishments worldwide in DLA. And then the other significant contribution was the adoption of the Denison Culture Climate Survey back in 2003, and which has driven all of the success in DLA with organizational improvement. These are programs that employees use to develop themselves and to advance to higher grades and different jobs, and all of these career development programs, and then the recognition programs were things that just make DLA a great place to work, and Sandy Miller is one of the key contributors to that. Sandy, I'd like to offer my personal congratulations to you on your induction into the DLA Hall of Fame. You had a wonderful 30-plus year career where you've contributed to the successes for every DLA employee over that time and DLA organizations as a whole. Thank you.
Good day to all those who have assembled to honor DLA Hall of Fame inductees. I am so honored and humbled by this prestigious recognition, and I must give thanks to God, from whom all blessings flow, and to Mr. Brad Bunn, now the Vice Director DLA, for endorsing my nomination, and to Ms. Shalita McCoy, Staff Director, Human Capital Program Development, J12, for initiating and completing the nomination. I must state that any success that I may have achieved was with the support, challenge, and encouragement of many throughout my career, both here at DLA and at my previous employer, the Law Enforcement Assistance Administration, Department of Justice. I would like to acknowledge my former supervisor at the Department of Justice, Mr. William R. Brantley, now deceased, who first recognized leadership skills in me and mentored and encouraged me to shoot for higher level positions. He also nominated me for, and I was approved for, one of the department's highest honors, the Employee of the Year. I spent most of my career with the Defense Logistics Agency, starting in 1982 and retiring after a most satisfying career of 41 years of federal service. DLA's mission of support to our military partners, particularly the warfighter, resonated with me, so I never really sought other employment at any other organization or agency. As noted by Mr. Keeler, my initial years of service to DLA were in the Equal Employment Opportunity Office, arriving as a specialist and ultimately assuming staff director position of the EEO office. There, I directed the full scope of the EEO program. Here, I must acknowledge Mr. Anthony Hudson, also deceased, and Miss Betty Patterson for recognizing my potential value to DLA when they selected me as a GS-13 to primarily prepare final agency decisions on EEO complaints of discrimination. Mr. Hudson also encouraged my nomination and selection to the DLA Executive Development Program. As part of the J1 Workforce Development Group, I assumed the responsibility for many critical employee development programs, including DWEA and the Enterprise Leader Development Program. In addition, I managed several DLA recognition programs and ceremonies. I was instrumental in designing other agency-level awards and recognition tools. For example, the Team Award and the Enterprise and Organizational Excellence Awards. My final assignment was as the Staff Director for Human Capital Program Development and Human Resources, to which I was appointed by Mr. Jeffrey R. Neal, Executive Director J1. This was one of the great opportunities I had with my staff to collaborate with the Headquarters J Codes and field activities to implement transformational employee and organizational development and improvement programs. Mr. Neal and later Mr. Bunn challenged me and the J12 staff to develop critical human capital programs. I spearheaded the development and governance structure of the functional community managers who as stakeholders were required to execute strategic plans and workforce plans. One of the most important initiatives was the development of the web-based competency assessment tool. One of the most challenging yet rewarding programs was the adoption of the culture model as a tool and for measuring organizational performance to desired culture traits that impact organizational performance. This program required close coordination and development of the DLA leadership to embrace the culture analytics as solid measures of organizational performance. This tool is still administered, evaluated, and program improvements identified and developed. I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the support of Admiral Keith Lippert as supporter of J12 and our programs. At all of our updates and presentations to him, he always provided valuable feedback and encouragement and was a willing proponent of J1 and J12 to the senior leaders when we needed his heavy lifting. With Admiral Lippert, Mr. Neal, and Mr. Bunn as our directors and supporters, we were able to achieve these and many more program successes. Again, it has been my privilege to be in service to DLA, its employees and leaders, and ultimately to the warfighter. Thank you for this most auspicious honor.
As the Chief Financial Officer for DLA, Mr. Tony Poleo directly impacted the Defense Department's ability to produce auditable financial statements, a top priority for DoD leaders and for Congress. Serving as the Defense-wide Working Capital Fund cash manager with responsibility for maintaining the cash resources of 3 defense agencies, Mr. Poleo's exceptional management of this fund was remarkable during his tenure, and he set the benchmark for future DWWCF cash managers. We'll now hear from Mr. Art Hagler, DLA's current Chief Financial Officer, about why these accomplishments are deserving of induction into the DLA Hall of Fame.
Well, Tony is very deserving of this recognition. He was and is a very well-liked and respected member of the DLA leadership team. He spent his entire career here, 35 years, rising through the ranks from a undergraduate cooperative education student up through the senior executive service and to the CFO position, which obviously was a recognition of the talent and leadership capability that he brought to bear. One of the important responsibilities he had was administering the cash resources of 3 defense agencies, not just DLA, but DFAS and DISA as well. Grand total $37 billion. He ensured that these activities all remained solvent and were able to continue operating and performing their important departmental missions. During his tenure, the department issued a directive to consolidate all the service major storage depots underneath DLA. I think there were 24 of these locations across the services. And as part of this implementation, Mr. Poleo implemented a discrete or developed a discrete pricing mechanism that incentivized the services to consolidate their inventories and to get rid of their excess. And this in turn enabled DLA to right-size the storage infrastructure, which in turn saved substantial resources for the department. In addition to developing and building a very strong bench and leaving behind a very capable quality workforce, he helped institute what became known as cost summits with the services. And the purpose of the cost summits was to bring together the financial management and logistics leaders to talk about DLA major initiatives, to help them understand the cost structures and billing mechanisms, and to have a two-way conversation so that they could more transparently understand DLA and how it's organized and operates. Tony, thank you so much for your leadership, and I have to tell you that Jeff Satola and I both stand on your shoulders.
I want to begin by saying how honored and humbled I am by this recognition. I stand here today due to the example set by a number of exceptional leaders I had the privilege to work for, and to the efforts of a host of extremely dedicated and capable teammates over my 36-year career. DLA is all about the mission and the people. These two things kept me at DLA for my whole career. First, a thank you to Vice Admiral Skubik, DLA Director, and Lieutenant General Williams, former DLA Director, for supporting my nomination. I also want to extend my thanks to Mr. Mike Scott, former DLA Vice Director, and Mr. Brad Bunn, current DLA Vice Director, for their longtime friendship and unwavering support through some very challenging times. The last and most important thank you goes to my wife, Linda, who has been on this journey with me every step of the way, supporting and encouraging me. I fully understand and appreciate that I am joining a decorated and distinguished group of current Hall of Famers. I also want to congratulate my fellow inductees, all of whom I have worked with or for during my career. DLA has met and overcome many challenges in its 60-year history and will be expected to do the same in the next 60. The warfighter and the taxpayer deserve no less. I'll leave you with an excerpt from a famous speech given by Teddy Roosevelt in 1910 that has always resonated with me as a career member of the Federal Service. Quote, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of the deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena." So I challenge the current leadership and my former teammates to remain in the arena. The nation needs you now more than ever. Thank you again for this honor, and God bless our soldiers, airmen, sailors, and Marines who continue to be in harm's way every day. Thank you.
From the start of his career in 1977, Mr. Walter Thomas Jr. was an extremely effective legal advisor and advocate who showed exceptional mission focus and unmatched policy astuteness, tact, and diplomacy. He served as an integral, collaborative, and highly valued member of the DLA General Counsel Senior Leadership Team. His extraordinary sustained accomplishments helped transform DLA into an organization that is able to adapt to support a wide-ranging array of missions. Mr. Matthew Pausch, DLA's General Counsel, will tell us about how Mr. Thomas built a lasting legacy in DLA.
Well, Walter Thomas is so appropriate to be brought into the DLA Hall of Fame. He is the consummate professional for our office. His accomplishments during his tenure here at DLA are probably too long to mention. One of the key things he did was bring our organization into the 21st century by converting our paper system for financial disclosure records into an electronic format for over 6,000 people. Walter negotiated critical union contracts, our master labor agreement with our workforce on a number of occasions, and was one of the true leaders in leading our transition into a new workforce rating system, the NSPS system, over 10 years ago. Walter is the kind of attorney that everybody kind of aspired to be. He was a leader. He brought people together, ran an entire division of our organization, and provided the guidance for all of our personnel and labor attorneys throughout the organization. His ability to bring people together, to negotiate tough agreements, to deal with the, sad to say, hundreds of workplace disputes that came through his office, all the while being the absolute leader for a field activity within DoD, handling one of the largest ethics and compliance departments within the Department of Defense. And I'm just scratching the surface on what Walter was able to do, but those are the kinds of accomplishments that, to me, make him a wonderful candidate to be part of the DLA Hall of Fame. Walter, I couldn't be happier that you're being inducted into the DLA Hall of Fame in this ceremony. I wish we could see you and do this in person, but you know how things are right now. I couldn't be happier. Throughout my career with DLA, you've been there for me, you've been there for the entire office. Not a person more deserving within our office than you. Congratulations, all the best, and hope to see you soon. Thanks.
Director Vice Admiral Skubik, Vice Director Brad Bunn, General Counsel Matthew Pausch, DLA organization, and fellow inductees. I'm honored to be inducted into the 2020 DLA Hall of Fame. In the words of Langston Hughes, my soul grows deep like the rivers. To the Office of General Counsel, thank you for the nomination and your support and appreciation of my time and contribution to DLA Office of General Counsel and DLA. It was an honor to be part of a legal organization dedicated to excellence and the rule of law. My career with the Office of Counsel afforded me the opportunities to serve in many challenging and rewarding roles and positions. But more importantly, I was able to work with and alongside some of the best lawyers and legal staff in the Department of Defense. DLA Office of General Counsel is definitely the provider of choice for legal services in DoD. To DLA, thank you for selecting me and making me a part of this most honorable and unique club of former inductees. Your recognition of my contribution to DLA's mission to the warfighter is most amazing and greatly appreciated. From a supply center in Philadelphia to headquarters in Virginia, your trust and confidence in my advice, counsel, representation, legal support, and service made me even a greater lawyer to such motivated and dedicated professionals. Not just your lawyer, I served as part of the team, working side by side in real time to resolve challenging, complex, and unique issues. Participated and represented DLA in special assignments, projects, committees impacting agency and government-wide reform and initiatives. My service, work, achievements, contribution, and time at DLA was an amazing journey. Let me end with excerpts from Kipling, which has always been with me. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son. Thank you.
Ms. Susan VanMeter demonstrated exemplary effort in meeting mission needs and performing her duties with paramount dedication and superior standards. Her leadership and vision helped to greatly increase the quality of information technology support to accomplish the mission of DLA. Her attention to detail and gift for procedural excellence made her an often sought-after commodity, and her ability to develop new initiatives and take risks to improve internal processes contributed to the agency's overall success. Ms. Karen Runstrom, Deputy Director of DLA Information Operations, will discuss Ms. VanMeter's extraordinary accomplishments.
Susan VanMeter is well deserving of being inducted into the DLA Hall of Fame. Her 41 years of service to the Department of Defense. She's excelled at coupling business operations and IT requirements together in order to ensure a meaningful system is provided in order to meet DLA's mission. She also has an attention to detail that is unsurpassable and is really a commodity that has been sought after at DLA within J6 as well as the enterprise over these years. Susan is also very much a great leader. She leads by example, and she spent countless hours in her personal time leading and mentoring people in order to bring them to their highest potential. So Susan has many contributions to DLA. One of the first that comes into my mind is that she was the primary architect for DLA's movement from its previous SAM system to our current enterprise business system, which at the time was BSM. In doing so, she also managed to keep the agency running in order to support the warfighter mission-wide. Secondly, I would suggest that she and her ability to exercise the DLA's first successful continuity of operations failover plan, also known as COOP, which basically moved DLA's entire production system, which supports the warfighter, from one site to a standalone site in Missouri. And what this does is it allows for DLA to continue its mission should there be some type of attack or any IT degradation. So on a personal note, when I moved from the business operations side of the house into the IT world, I was scared, to say the least. And I worked for Susan, and she took me under her wing, showed me the ropes, and really was an outstanding leader and mentor to me, not only professionally, but personally as well. And I can tell you that I would not be sitting here today as the Deputy CIO without Susan in my life. Susan, I want to thank you for being there for me both professionally and personally. I would not be where I am today without you. And I want to thank you on behalf of the Defense Logistics Agency for all you've done in support of our great nation.
Hello, I am honored to be here today, albeit virtually, and very grateful that I have been chosen as one of DLA's Hall of Fame recipients. I want to thank everyone who was involved in nominating me for this award, including but not limited to Ms. Karen Runstrom, Mr. William Tinston, Dr. Kenneth Fielding, and Ms. Carrie Riskadal. I truly appreciate your thoughtfulness and efforts and the faith that you put in me during my career at DLA. Thank you again for this honor, and God bless all of you. I started my career with DLA in the late 70s as a clerk typist with what is now known as the Defense Supply Center Columbus. Over the course of my career, I was promoted to multiple different positions in that agency and eventually moved to the information technology side of the house, or the J6. No matter what position I held, I was fortunate enough to work with professional logisticians and was mentored by several of them. As a result of their kind mentoring, higher education, hard work, and the grace of our good Lord, I ended my career as the portfolio manager for DLA's enterprise business system. As you can imagine, that position was demanding, challenging, and rewarding all at the same time. It was a privilege to have served in that capacity, and I am humbled to have led the great team of people who sustain that system. Without their amazing support, I wouldn't be receiving this honor today. More importantly, our nation's warriors wouldn't have all the material they need to defend this great nation. My sincere thanks goes to the EBS team and to all the men and women who serve the United States of America. The one thing that I was always impressed by throughout my career is the passion of DLA's employees. Everyone gave their best and always placed support of our nation's warriors as their highest priority. It has been a great honor to serve our country. I am proud to call DLA my home and to have worked with so many people who believe in this nation. Thank you again.
Even if we couldn't come together in person to honor this distinguished group of inductees, we hope you enjoyed today's program. Before I turn things back over to our director, thank you again to everyone involved in nominating and selecting the 2020 honorees, and to everyone who made this virtual event possible. And once more, congratulations to the 9 inductees. I was honored to be part of your special day.
What an incredible group. I hope you enjoyed their stories. The success of this great agency and its impeccable reputation over the past 60 years can be attributed directly to the actions of remarkable individuals like our 2020 Hall of Fame inductees. They helped lay the foundation for DLA's legacy of excellence. And I can say without reservation that all our inductees make us very proud. As we honor their leadership and accomplishments, let's also remember that this celebration is about inspiring and motivating all of us as we continue to serve our warfighters and our nation today and into the future. Thank you to our inductees. You are awe-inspiring, as are all the 126 members of the DLA Hall of Fame. And thanks to everyone on the DLA team for what you continue to do every day. Thank you for watching, and until next time, warfighter always.